Hello and welcome to today's live Q&A. I'm Katie Keith, founder and CEO at Barn2 Plugins.
And I'm Sam Waynes, and I am in charge of all the video that we put out on YouTube, as well as tutorials and things that help you guys out to use our plugins. And I've recently taken over even more responsibility regarding these live streams. So I'm trying to manage the whole show now. So hopefully it goes just as well as all our other shows go.
So,
And speaking of which, I have received a plethora of questions from you guys who registered in advance for this event. So we'll be very excited to get into those as we go through. But the normal structure of our live stream is we go through plugin by plugin. So if we haven't got your question yet, just hang tight because we're going to get to it when we get to the relevant plugin, just so everyone stays on the same page about what we're speaking about as we go through.
Yeah, so let's start with some company news. We've just got one thing to talk about today, which is that very soon, at some point within the next week, we will be doing yet another update of WooCommerce Product Options, which has another interesting new feature. So I will show you that now quickly so that you can see how that will work. Now, WooCommerce Product Options is our plugin that lets you add other types of option to the product page. So you can add checkboxes and clickable buttons and images and all sorts of things that are more visual than normal product variations. Actually, before I'll show you the back end of the new feature, I'll just quickly show you the front end. So Product Options has lots of pretty ways of displaying options that you don't get with variations. Like here you can see we've got radio buttons and checkboxes. So there's all sorts of things like that. But we've had quite a lot of feature requests from people that say, well, I love the visuals of these new options, but I want to keep using product variations. And there are various reasons you might want to use your variations, but display them using our plugin. The biggest one I am aware of is stock control. So WooCommerce itself has inventory management features, but with our product options, that doesn't work because you create the options directly in our plugin. So people are saying, I want to use product variations, but I want to use your plugin to display them as checkboxes and images and all of that. So that is what we have now added, or at least we will in the next release in the next few days. So here we have a product. So hopefully it's got the option I want. Is this the latest version? Yeah. So here you choose the type of option, like whether you want checkboxes or whatever. I'm going to use color swatches. And then previously you had to create the option directly in our plugin, but now we've created a new choice type where you can create choices using existing variation attributes. So let's say I've got a color variation and I've got t-shirts or something, and I'm managing the color and with the stock control for all my red t-shirts or something with variations, but I want to display them as color swatches. Well, what you do is you select your color attribute. That will then pre-populate all of those terms you've added for that attribute. And with our plugin, you can add what the color is, and that will then display on the product page so that customers can click on that color. But behind the scenes, it is still a product variation, which means that all your functionality for product variations, like your stock control, integrations with third-party plugins, shipping options, all of that will still work. So that's our main news and what's coming soon in WooCommerce Product Options.
Awesome. I see we already received a couple of comments. So hello to everyone who's watching live. If you do have questions and you just want to leave them in the chat for us, we will do our best to get to them during this broadcast as soon as possible. Although we do like to get through the pre-submitted questions as well, because they tend to be quite detailed and we like to help out those customers who registered. So are we ready to jump into the first one?
Yes. So we're going to talk about Document Library Pro first. Document Library Pro is our most popular plugin, and it lets you add a document library or basically any type of resource library to a WordPress site. So here we've got the table view. This is our plugin demo site, so you can actually visit this site, and it has a table of documents which you can search for particular type of documents, or use the filters to find certain documents, and then you can preview the document in your browser depending on the file type, or you can click a button to download it to your website. And people use it to create all sorts of resource library. Like here you can see an audio file. People use it to create music libraries with embedded audio like this of all different tracks. People use it to create video galleries with this extra columns of information and embedded videos. And we've also got different views, like for more kind of corporate environments, people often like the folder view where you can drill down by category. And also we have a more visual grid, which people like for more visual types of resource where they've got images, or they want to showcase each document a bit more. And that is Document Library Pro.
Awesome. And we have a submission from David. It's not really a question, so I'm just going to have to assume that it's document library and protected categories. So he just wants to know how they work together. So we already discussed document library, and protected categories, or its full name, WooCommerce Protected Categories, is another one of our very popular plugins that does pair with our with our other plugins such as Document Library or Post Table Pro in order to hide certain categories. So I've set up a little demo site here, and I'll just try to replicate some kind of scenario where we can use these plugins together. So let me just find that. Now, I remember last month I was having some kind of issues with sharing. So let's just hope that that's not the case. I'm going to share this one. Oh, perfect. Everything's working fine. All right. So this is a document library. This is in the folder view, actually. So I can open and close any of these folders of different documents on my website. And now I've also added the, let's close out that and share this tab instead. WordPress wants me to log in, so I just had to do that really quick. So this is on the back end of our document section on WordPress, and we're in the categories right now. You can see that we could add a new category, and we can also set the visibility of that new category, or we can edit an existing one. So if I come into this drinkware category and I quickly edit that, and I come down to the bottom and I switch it to password protected, I can enter a new password. And that category will now be only available to people who log in with the password. So if I switch back to the document library and refresh the page, you can see that that category just disappeared from the library. So it's now protected. And if somebody were to log in the account using that password, then they can access it. There's a few more steps involved, but that's just the basic idea. So hopefully that helps to give you an understanding of how those two plugins work together. Anything you want to add there, Katie?
Not particularly, no. I suppose maybe use cases, like a lot of people use Document Library Pro for their employee documents within their organization. So that might be a reason that you want certain categories not to be available to the public, in which case you could have, say, a category for your marketing team and a different category for your sales team and so on. So there are lots of different reasons people do that, but that's one example.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is another question on this one. How to use Document Library Pro with Prevent Direct Access Gold plugin by Dana.
Yeah, so one thing that people often ask when they're using Document Library Pro with the password protected categories plugin that Sam just mentioned is that it doesn't currently protect the files which are linked to from the document library. So typically people aren't too bothered about that, because you would only find a file if you actually went into if somebody knew the URL of that file in the media library, which is unlikely to happen, to be honest. But if you have particularly secure type of documents, then you want to know that even if somehow somebody gets the URL of one of the documents which is linked to from your library, they cannot access that underlying file. And Prevent Direct Access is a plugin that you can use with Document Library Pro to achieve that. So that's its website I just put on the screen, preventdirectaccess.com. And I'm going to, so basically follow its own documentation to set it up. And I'll show you what you need to do our end in password protected categories. So with password protected categories, you need to choose certain options for your protected categories. And the way it works is, so I'm going to create a new, let's say it's staff documents here. So I'm creating a staff documents category in my document library. And because I've also got the password protected categories plugin installed, there's a visibility option down here near the bottom. And that's what you get with the password protected categories plugin. So you could select password protected categories, which just means that anybody with the password can access and unlock that document category. But you shouldn't do that for this use case, because this question is about how to use Document Library Pro with Prevent Direct Access. And Prevent Direct Access works with the WordPress user login system. So specifically, you can choose which user roles can access that type of content. So in our case, we would be protecting certain media files, which are the documents that are attached to the document library, to certain user roles. So that means that to protect the other bits of the document library, which is the actual document post and the category pages and so on, like Sam showed you a minute ago, you need to use the same type of protection. So that, let's say that a subscriber has access to this document category, you should also set subscribers to have access to the media files. So by doing the same sort of protection for both, it will work seamlessly for the user. And they simply log into their user account, and then they can access the documents and also the attached files. And that link on the screen, it's quite a long URL, but you can find it by searching our knowledge base if you type in Prevent Direct Access. This is an article, actually it's on our blog, sorry, not the knowledge base. So go there and search. It's about how to do what I just described.
Yeah, I didn't mean to have the entire URL there, but it does give you an idea of what to search for if you're looking for it. Righty ho. So that concludes our questions for Document Library Pro, but if you have any follow-up questions for us, please leave them in the comments and we'll try to get back to that. In the meantime, we'll jump into our next plugin, which is WooCommerce Private Store. Now, I'm just going to quickly introduce this plugin. There isn't too much to say about it other than it's a plugin which is designed specifically for hiding or privatizing your WooCommerce store. So basically, it takes the entire store into a private login-only state. I could show you the demo, but it just involves a login page. So let me just do that real quick anyway. But it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'm kind of going to cover the login page in the next question anyway.
Oh, okay,
so,
well then let's just do that then. I think that's probably the best. Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, oh, I'm in the wrong section.
I have it
Private
here.
Store. Okay. That one. So Alan says, I want my entire WooCommerce website to be accessible only to users with active accounts. Any visitor who is not logged in should be redirected to a simple page with a blue background featuring login and registration boxes. So I'll show you what you can do to achieve that in WooCommerce Private Store. So, oh, I'm logged in. Let me log out because that is what we need to see. Right, so I'm going to WooCommerce Private Store demo. So basically, when you visit the website, you won't see anything if you're not logged in. If that assumes that all your pages are WooCommerce, because our plugin automatically hides all the pages that WooCommerce creates. So that's your main shop page, your category pages, your products, all of that. If you have additional pages on your site, like a separate home page, then there is an option to protect that with WooCommerce Private Store too. And it sounds like Alan wants to make the whole site private, even if there are pages that might not be WooCommerce. So you need to make sure all those pages are protected. And you can then use the user login form that comes with WooCommerce itself. So this page here, which I've linked to as user login in the navigation menu of this site, is actually the WooCommerce account page, which sounds a bit weird, but in WooCommerce, the account page doubles as a user registration or login form when you're logged out. So this text we've just added manually, but essentially the account page when you're logged out will display a login form and possibly a registration form, depending on whether you've enabled user registration via the account page, which is a setting in WooCommerce itself under WooCommerce settings accounts, I think. And so that's basically what Alan described. You can't see the store until you've logged in with your active account. He also said some things about the styling. So that would either need to come with your theme. So if your theme just does that automatically or has styling options to do that, or if you need to do some custom CSS, then you can either do that or ask your developer. And we also offer a plugin customization service where we would be able to do that for you. And to be honest, it would be a fairly simple change to restyle that login page for you.
Awesome. Alrighty, so we're just powering through these plugins at the moment. Still would love to hear from you guys. If you're watching live, you can even just say hello. Maybe tell us what country you're watching from so we get an idea of the time zone that you guys are in and how better to cater these live streams for you guys.
Yeah, we've just had a follow-up question from Alan,
Uh-huh.
who we just featured. So let's do
Sure.
that now. So would they be redirected to the login page automatically? I think the question is redirected from where, because if they've hit the website, then our plugin has hidden all of the links to the store pages. So if the navigation menu included links to the category pages, for example, then they would be hidden until you're logged in. If a user had bookmarked, for example, if they'd somehow got the URL of a page like a category or a product, and they clicked on that URL when they're not logged in, then yes, they would be redirected to the login page. But otherwise, it's not actually relevant because you would put a login page in your menu and all the other links would be hidden anyway. Let me know if that doesn't answer your question or if you've got any more follow-ups.
Yeah, he did actually mention the idea of a direct link before. And the basic answer to the question is it's still protected. They just get to a login page or they get redirected to a login page. Amazing. That's exactly what I needed to know. Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Alan, for the question, and thanks for watching. Earlier, John said he loved the new feature that Katie talked about. So yeah, that's going to be cool when that comes out. And I know there are plenty of people who've been asking for that feature. So that's awesome. All right. So we're still accepting new comments, and we're going to jump straight into our next plugin, which is WooCommerce.
Actually, can we go to
Oh,
Rob's
yeah?
question because it's relevant to what we
Oh,
just
wow.
talked about?
I just came in. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Rob says, in this use case scenario, does this plugin automatically hide the pages so they can't be indexed by search engines? Yes, it does. It no indexes them all. And in addition, search engines literally don't know they exist. So it hides them also from, say, sitemaps and XML sitemaps from the main search SEO plugins like Yoast and All-in-One SEO and so on. And It hides it so that a crawler would never even find a link to these pages because they don't exist. So it does everything it possibly can to prevent them from being indexed. And Dana is asking, can you please share the URL of the blog post of the PDA Gold plugin? I still don't understand how to use it with Document Library Pro. Well, let's just review that quickly. So the key thing is you use Document Library Pro and our password protected categories plugin to restrict access to the document posts and the categories that they're in. So let's say you've got a category for policies or policy documents or something. What you would do is use our plugin to restrict that to certain user roles. And the gap there is that the actual policy documents in your WordPress media library, let's say they're PDF files, they are not protected. So that if somebody has the URL of one of your policy PDFs, then the user could, in theory, access it because they had the URL. And they shouldn't have the URL, but they could do. And what the Prevent Direct Access Gold plugin is, I think Gold's the name of their premium version, is it lets you restrict access to the files in your media library as well. And so what you should do is restrict it to the same user role that you've used to restrict the other bits of your document library. Let me know if that's still not clear. And we need to, and you've got the link as well. So hopefully we've given long enough to write it down.
Righty-ho. Awesome. So are we ready to jump in to
Yes.
Product Table? Cool. Okay, so let's talk about WooCommerce Product Table now, which is another one of our very popular plugins, but this one is specific for WooCommerce. So this is a look at our demo page on our website, and it's showing you how many ways that you can display all of your products within the table, although everything is basically subject to customization. So if you want the image to be larger, or if you don't want to display an image at all, if you want to include the name, summary, price, and there are probably at least a dozen other types of columns that you can add into the table or remove. And so basically you can just make it your own. It's really great for wholesale sites who want to add a quick order feature to their site. And it's also great for adding short lists of products to various pages if you want to sort of show off some of the other things that you're selling and kind of upsell from there. You can see over here we have different types of buy buttons. We have quantity pickers, we have add to cart buttons, and this checkbox to select and add all of the items at once using the bottom button down here. There's also things like selections for variations. So you can select from the different variation dropdowns, and you can also add links to other sites like this one where it says buy on Amazon. So really a lot of different options. And I didn't even mention the filters. You can filter the table by different categories or different attributes like color, size, etc. And then you can reset the search. I believe you can also include, there's a search feature for this, or am I confusing it with Document Library?
Yeah, isn't there a search box above the table? There normally would be, or maybe there isn't in that particular example.
Yeah, if I go to yeah, on this particular demo page there isn't, but normally we can enable a search box as well. So that is the plugin in essence, and now we'll get into one other thing I wanted to mention about this plugin is in addition to the different columns that you can add, you can also select what types of products or what groups of products are included in each individual table, because you can have dozens of different tables spread across your website on different pages. So if you wanted a category, if you wanted a product table to only show one category or one set of the same tags, or even you can just pick the individual products that go in. You can also use custom fields to define what products will be included. Really, there's a lot of different options, but that does lead us into this comment/question, which Katie is going to talk about now.
Yeah, so this question is about how to exclude products. So Kenneth says, I don't understand why the feature of making a custom table only based on SKU is not an option. The only way I can achieve what I want for that specific table is to use the unique ID. Actually, that doesn't mention exclude, does it? For some reason, he thought
His
that's about including.
yeah,
Yeah.
including specifically.
Okay, so in product table, there are lots of ways to choose which products appear in each table, or you can just have a table of your whole store if you prefer. So on this page that Sam's got open, you can see we've got category. You can also do it by tag, date, individual products based on ID. So that's the database ID of the product. And what Kenneth is saying is that there isn't an option to include products by SKU, which is the unique identifier that you can manually add for each WooCommerce product. And that is correct, that that's not currently available, and it's on our feature request list. And to give some perspective on it in terms of demand for it, because basically we evaluate the amount of demand for a feature and then we use that to prioritize so that we can benefit the most people the most quickly. And it has 9 votes, which is quite a lot and suggests that we will do it at some point, but we're not likely to do it, say, in the next few months, because the most popular items on the feature request list for product table have 30, 21, and then 20 votes, which is a lot more than 9. So that's why we would prioritize those things first. But like I said, 9 is a lot, and I think we should do that at some point. But I'm sorry that we're not doing that now, and hope that you can mix and match the other options in order to do so in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just got this comment from Alan. So he says, regarding product table, the in quotation marks within the product table, I want the column header to display the attribute, for example, flavor, and the entries to show only the variation. So, for example, original, apple, orange, instead of flavor, original, flavor, orange, flavor, and so on. So, how can Alan make this change? Is this an easy
Right.
question or is this a little bit tricky?
Well, it is easy now as of a few months ago. Previously, you would have had to do that in the short code, but now it is easy. So what we need to do is go to, I'll just share my screen. So you can do this in the new table builder that we added a couple of months ago. So I'm going to go to products, product tables, and that's where you create and manage your tables. And I'm going to edit an existing table, I think. So I could use add new to launch the full table builder, but I'm just going to edit an existing table. So I'm going to go edit. And here we've got the columns. So this particular table has 5 columns: image, name, stock, price, and buy. And if I wanted, and so it sounds like the Alan's table is saying flavor colon original, probably because that's the attribute name. So let's add an attribute now. Which one is an attribute? So color is an attribute. So let's add color. So ours hasn't added the color name first, but what you can do is just edit, click on the pencil and edit it. Does that answer the question? I'm just rereading it to double check.
So just to clarify, Katie, when you press that pencil and edit that, that's what's going to show up at the top of the column on the very top of the table.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
hope
that's
that does
part of
answer
it.
the question.
So that's the column header to display the attribute flavor. So yeah, you just click on the pencil and write flavor in capital letters or whatever as needed. And then he says the entries to show only the variation. So I would call that the term attributes, the attribute term. So let's look at the front end of the demo. I'm just going to find one with attribute columns. I'm sure there's one on this page somewhere. We recently edited this page to show different color options as well, because that's new. So do we have any attribute columns? Oh, we must do, surely. Size, yes. So these are attribute columns. So what it does is create a comma separated list of the terms for that attribute. So size is the attribute name, like flavor in Alan's case. And then we've got small, comma, medium, which is the term name. And that will appear as you've entered that in the WordPress admin under products attributes.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it may or may not be showing the flavor original or flavor apple, but perhaps it shouldn't be doing that unless there was something else going on that we're not aware of.
Yeah, he might have just added that in the back end himself when he created those attributes.
Fair enough. Alrighty. So that's awesome so far. We've had plenty of comments and questions, guys. Do keep commenting or adding your questions if you have them. For now, we're going to jump into the next plugin of discussion. And we got a comment from Doug who just said the name of the plugin, Product Filters. So this is for you, Doug. We're going to explain WooCommerce Product Filters, and hopefully that will answer your question for you, because you didn't actually leave anything specific in the question.
Yeah, sounds like he just wants to walk through to understand that plugin better. But if you're watching live, Doug, then feel free to ask more questions now.
Yeah. And if not, we always send an email to the people who asked a question explaining when and where we answer the question in the video. So if you can't catch us live, know that we did try to get to your question, and we will email you after the fact as well. So that's really nice. So this is our WooCommerce Product Filters plugin. And just on the topic of filters in general, I think any or every modern e-commerce site should have filters enabled. And unfortunately, WooCommerce just doesn't cut it when it comes to filtering options. All right. So this is a state-of-the-art filtering plugin. As with all of our plugins, definitely something that we take a lot of pride in, the amount of effort we put into each one. And you can see up at the top here, the plugin has added these drop-down filters here, these ones specifically. And they're based on the attributes and variations of your products within your store. So they will be different depending on what's in your store, of course. Then we have some different categories, for example, men's and women's. And you can set up the filters to use Ajax to basically refresh the page every time a new filter is clicked on. Or you can have it with a button where you can click on a bunch of filters and then enable them all at once and basically reload the page from there. So this one is set up with Ajax at the moment. When I clear all the filters, we just go back to the page here, and I can click on some different ones just to see what kinds of products we get. So you can see from this list, there's all sorts. So we have these checkboxes. There'll be, checkboxes, perhaps even radio buttons. I'm not sure if that's actually relevant for filters or not. But these color options as well, essentially just checkboxes, but with colors. Text boxes, searching options, rating and price filters, drop downs, basically everything you could want. So this page is showing filters on both the top and on the sidebar. But you can choose to show your filters in one of those two locations as well. I think that is a pretty decent overview of the plugin. But yeah, if you have any follow-up questions for us, Doug, we would love to hear them before we get to the end of the stream. So get in quick. And we have a question from Roberto. Do you want to hop on that now?
These are some quite complex questions about WooCommerce Product Options, which we are getting to next anyway. So I think we should just do that after the other questions about that plugin.
Sure. Yeah. I did scratch my head a little bit today trying to get my head around some of these questions, because they're not super simple in terms of yeah, the way they're phrased as well as the way that the application actually works. But we'll do our
Welcome to
best.
plugin
So
support.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So Katie, you already did kind of introduce the plugin at the beginning of the stream, but if you just want to bring everyone up to speed on what plugin we're talking about, we'll
Yeah,
we'll jump
the
straight into that.
questions are typically about the price formula. So I will follow up my introduction from earlier with showing the specific feature that some of these questions are about in WooCommerce Product Options. So we're back to the WooCommerce Product Options demo. I showed you a pizza earlier, but I'm going to find some curtains this time. So a very popular feature of this plugin is the ability to create a custom price formula, which allows you to get full control over the pricing for your products based on information that the user enters or selects, or other data about the product, or all sorts of things, as Sam will show you in a minute. It's probably the most complex and sophisticated price formula for WooCommerce. But that means that people have these amazingly interesting and complex requirements that we advise them on how to achieve. So this one's simple. Let's say you want to order a curtain that's 50, that's 100 wide and 180 tall. I think that's fairly typical. And you see that it changed the price. So I'm going to change it to 200 long. And now the price is changing. So in the back end, we've used the price calculator to create a custom formula based on the price using the width and the length and how that calculates the amount of fabric that's required. And so let's get into some real examples that people are asking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So the first question comes from, I'm going to try and say the name, Tygo. Tygo. Let's hope that that's correct. Can the extra options plugin calculate pricing based on area, for example, in meters squared, for products with multiple variations, like tiles or flooring? And it goes on. Each variation covers a different area. The variation and area need to be selected to dynamically bring up the correct price. Okay, so thank you for the question and the headaches, and I will uh, do my best here. So, first of all, let's jump into the product that I set up. So, I'm just going to share that now. Now, this is probably, I would say, drastically simplified version of what Tygo is hoping for. And that is just for demonstrative purposes, just so it's not overly complicated. I thought about this a lot, and it did actually cause me a bit of a headache because to dynamically include the tile selection and the area into the price formula is kind of unnecessary on some level. All you really need to know is the area that the customer wants to order for, like how big is their floor, charge them for the tiles plus a little bit of overage, and then you can modify the price based on the type of tiles. Like if one of these types of tiles is more expensive for you to produce or for you to supply, you can obviously add some price to this. That's really easy to do in our product options plugin. You could just add 10% or something. That's not going to be a problem. But then when it comes down to this price formula, I just thought, you know what? It's actually really simple. If your customer knows the area they need to cover, then don't complicate it. Just ask them for the area in meters squared. So, oh, they need to cover 10 meters squared, and the price will update based on the price of the tile product. But if you have different prices for each of these variations, that's where it does get a little more complicated. Let's jump into the back end and see how this looks. So first of all, this product option is related to this product. So I've chosen this product here. And then the first one is tile size. This is simply radio buttons. And then I've added the different sizes of tiles here. And you can also include some additional pricing, like a percentage increase here. But because we're using a pricing formula, then I think this isn't actually the best way to do it. So we'll leave that out for now. Then the next one is a number input. And this is just asking the customer to tell us what area they need to cover. You could do this with, like the curtains, with length times width. And that's also totally doable and fine and easy enough to set up. But if you just wanted to make it super simple, you can just have one input for area and just be specific about what you're asking for the customer to provide to you. And also, if it's precise numbers, you can enable decimals. And see, I've set the minimum at 0.05 and maximum at 200. So that's just one extra little setting there. Then we get into the price formula. And this is, we select price formula, and then we actually enter the formula. This is like a mathematical formula. This is taking into account only two things: the product price, which you set in WooCommerce, and the area, which is provided by the customer. It multiplies those together and gives you a price. So if you're charging $100 per square meter and they enter 1 square meter, you'll charge them $100. Except that with tiles, you might want some overage. So I created a custom variable down here called overage, which charges an extra 15%. And that takes into account, in the formula, area takes into account the provided number by the customer multiplied by 15% and puts it back into the formula, basically. So it's just adding 15% to the formula in the form of overage, which you may charge depending on your industry. Now, there is also an option to include the tile size into the formula. So you can say like, oh, they checked this box for 10 by 10. And I thought about including that, but it doesn't really give you any additional information that you would need to know as the supplier, unless you
Unless
wanted to
it
charge a
affects the
different price.
overage or something.
Yeah,
Maybe you
unless
need
it
more
does
overage.
affect the overage.
Mm.
So you could calculate the overage separately based on that selection. If you want to get into that detail, Tygo, please do get in touch with us. But I'm not going to go over it in this particular live stream because um, it involves if functions, which I couldn't even really get my head around properly. But I'm going to go into it in the next one because it is useful in the next one. So let's jump into the next question before everyone leaves this live stream. So here we have a question from Sharon. They want to know how to make the price calculator work using a different price tier for greater than or equal to the width of my vinyl sticker product that requires the customer to enter the width. Okay, Sharon, thanks for the question. So I created another product to simulate this for you, and I just based it off of our curtains product. Ignore the colors, but that is, part of the steps. So choose a color. That's just something that's easy to set up in our plugin. And then this is just like that curtain example that Katie showed us. So we have width and we have length. But what I've done in the formula is I've made it so that if the width is greater than or equal to 200 centimeters, then there's an extra 50% pricing on top of that. I'm not sure what kind of pricing structure you wanted to have, so I just created something, for example. So if I put in 100 by 100, then we have exactly 1 square meter, and that's $50. And if I put in, say, 250, you can see we get a kind of a funky number here because it's adding 50% to the pricing once it exceeds 200 in this width category. So let's have a look at that in the back end here. I'm just going to share this tab. All right. So here we are in the vinyl option group that I just created, and we'll have a look at the price formula. So the area calculation is really simple. It takes into account the width and the length and converts it from centimeters to meters and multiplies it all together. So that's the first one, area. Then it takes into account the product price, which we set up in WooCommerce. And then I set up a separate pricing tier for what happens if width exceeds or is equal to or exceeds 200 in when the customer enters it. So basically, I wrote if, like literally just if, and then in brackets, you write the logical thing you need. So if width is greater than or equal to 200, and then you put a comma, and then you write the number to multiply by if that's true. And then the next number after the comma is the number to multiply by if it's not true. So if it's not true, you just want to multiply by 1 so it doesn't change. And if it is true, you can change it. So it can be cheaper, it could be more expensive based on that number. So if this number was below 1, it would actually get cheaper if they're adding more products. Because it's above 1, it's more expensive. There may be a slightly better way to do this, but this is what I came up with when answering the question. All right, then I hope that helps. So, Sharon. Also, you can get in touch if you need more specific advice about how to create this or implement it.
Okay, and the
Alrighty.
next one was Roberto's question, which is, I would like to know if there is a plugin or function to preview a text in addition to an image on a product surface. So this is about a different feature of WooCommerce Product Options. I know we've got another formula question, but I thought let's have a break from formulas and then come back to formulas afterwards, since we've just done 2. So we'll do another feature of Product Options. I'm going to demo what is possible, which Roberto refers to in addition to an image. Yes, we currently have a preview of images, but not text, although that is coming. So here I'm going to go into our hoodie demo product. You can select your variations, and then, well, this is always a moment of truth. What images do I have in my downloads folder? I've got a nice team photo to put on my hoodie. So I'm uploading a slightly large image file, which is why it's taking a while. And now I have put it on this hoodie. So you can see that it's previewed it, and it allows me to move it and resize it and so on. And that is a feature for images only, but we are well aware that lots of people want to be able to do this by allowing the user to enter text, which would then be previews. And we are just starting work on that feature now, and that is coming soon. I'm never going to give a time scale because we just wouldn't meet it, but that is a big priority, and we are just starting work. So if you start using WooCommerce Product Options with its live preview add-on now, then you will get the text preview free when it's released, because it will just be rolled into a future update of the live preview add-on. So when you buy WooCommerce Product Options, you'll see on the sales page that you can either buy it on its own or as a 2-plugin bundle with the live preview. So that's where we will be adding the text preview. But I'm sorry that's not available yet. So it's definitely coming in the next few months.
Do you want to jump into, you tell me what you want to jump into next.
Let's go to, oh, that was the same Roberto. Okay, so Roberto had some previous questions, and I've just jumped to his latest question. So let's go into the other questions. So we use the text input option for some of our products with the price type set to character count. So yes, with the text field options, you can charge by character count. The price set in this field does not take into account the role assigned to the wholesale customer. So from that, I'm assuming that Roberto is using our WooCommerce Wholesale Pro plugin with product options. He goes on to say, regardless of the role and therefore the discount level assigned, the additional price calculation always refers to the price assigned to the character. And this is a problem. Is it possible to fix this? So when you create a text field in WooCommerce Product Options, there's you get a table of, you get the ability to set a price and choose the type of price. So in Roberto's case, that would be character. So you charge per character. And there should be another column in that same table, which only appears when our WooCommerce Wholesale Pro plugin is active. And that is where you would add the alternate price to be displayed if for wholesale users. And that should appear, actually, I think it's a button from memory that appears in that column. And then when you click on it, you can enter a different price for every wholesale role in your store. So firstly, I recommend checking that and seeing if you can enter the wholesale prices there. If you have got both plugins active and you can't see the ability to set wholesale prices per option, then get in touch with us because it should be there, basically.
I'm just jumping in to see if it's possible on my demo site while you get to the next question.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't think, have I got a demo site with both of those plugins on it right now, but you might do. Another question. Furthermore, is it possible to assign a threshold as a number of characters below which the price is not increased? For example, the first 10 characters are free and the price per character is counted starting from the 11th. So the answer to that is yes, and you would need to do it as a price formula, not as just by entering the price per character. And that allows you to use all the logic that we have talked about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just enabled both plugins and I haven't seen anything coming up on the editing screen within product options. I'll just save
It
and
should be in the
refresh.
table of choices that there's an ability to set wholesale.
You're talking about where it says choice on the product options screen. I can share the screen now. Because I'll just show you what it shows so we can maybe get to this later. And this can become something that we can fix for everyone, not just one person. So here's where we have the text input, we have the label, character count, and then the price.
Can you just switch that to checkboxes? I'm wondering whether we didn't enable it for all option types or something. No, that's weird. Oh, actually, click on the cog.
Yep.
Is it a hidden column? Wholesale price.
Wholesale price.
Because
Let's check it again for text input. Now it's showing wholesale, but it doesn't have any input for it.
I feel like that might have been an oversight and that we didn't, because we recently added this.
Here we go. If you add a flat fee, you can add wholesale pricing, but if you add character count, there's nothing there.
So that's a missing feature then, character count by wholesale price. I think, Roberto, send us a support ticket at support@barn2.com and we will check with the lead developer for this plugin, Luigi, how hard that would be to add. If it's quite a big development task to extend the wholesale pricing for the character count, then we should wait, and because we need to see how many people want it and track it as a feature request. Whereas if it's a quick thing, like a couple of lines of code or something, then we should do it straight away. So send it as a support ticket to us and we will look into that further, because it just looks like we're only supporting flat fees at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully that's at least a little bit useful in the short term, but yes, we should be getting onto that. We'll get back to you when you send in that support ticket.
And finally, is it possible not to consider the spaces in the count? Well, I know this is a feature request that we're tracking at the moment. I just can't remember how it works at the moment. I'm just typing the word space into our feature request list to see. Ability to include spaces. That's not very useful because I don't know what it does at the moment. But basically, it will either include spaces or not, depending on what you're finding. And to do anything else would require either some custom development, or you'd need to wait for us to add it as a feature. We've only had 3 feature requests for that. In comparison, the most popular item which is text preview, actually, which we just discussed. Which you want, Roberto. So that is at least coming. There's 26 votes for text preview. So you can see why we're prioritizing that. Was there anything else?
Couple of start comments.
Yeah, another very welcome feature would be the ability to set a set of allowed characters. So yeah, at the moment you can type anything into the text field, and we're also tracking that. I'm sure you don't want to hear this as a feature request. And there are 2 votes for the ability to restrict what characters you can enter. So we'll keep, and I'll add you as another vote actually. We can't do that now, but we are tracking it.
Nice one. And Rob had a question too. Are you looking at adding the filtering options as a block and not only a widget? It seems this is theme specific for support, I think. Yes, so good question.
This is WooCommerce Product Filters, I'm assuming. So what it has is 3 ways of adding filters to the page. It has a Gutenberg block called Product Filters, and you can see this in place like here, just on the page. So we've added that above the list of products. It also has a widget, which we've used in the sidebar. And the third thing is a shortcode, because not everybody uses blocks, and not everybody wants sidebar widgets, of course. A lot of particularly modern e-commerce sites like to have the filters at the top and keep the page really clean without a sidebar. So if you're not using the Gutenberg block editor, then you can use a shortcode to insert a filter group anywhere on your page, basically. And it works with things like Elementor and Divi. So we've aimed to make it independent of all themes, and we're doing some further refactoring of the plugin at the moment to make it even more independent of themes, which is coming soon. So it's not particularly theme specific in that sense.
I'm so glad you're here, Katie, because I did not have an answer to that question. But now we all know. So thank you for that. We're closing in on an hour now, and we've just got through all of the questions and all of the plugins. So
we have a light-hearted question. How did the name come about? So I'm assuming that means Barn2. So back in 2010, I think, when my husband and I started the company, Barn2, yes, we're both branded. And in the background, you've got loads of stuff. So we lived in a converted barn in Dartmoor National Park, England, and we were in barn number 2 of 3. So it's literally where we used to live. I now live in Mallorca, very different to a converted barn, but the name reflects our roots.
How do you say Barn2 in Spanish? Putting you on the spot.
I don't even know the word barn in Spanish. Anybody Spanish watching, leave a quick comment.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for coming in and joining us.
We've got another question. Hang on.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Granero dos. Interesting, because granja is farm. I know that. So granero, I wonder if it's to do with grain or something.
Granary. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have granary.
So we should have renamed the company Granero dos.
For the Spanish site.
Yeah. So is there a way in Product Options Live Preview to add design to front and back of a t-shirt? Yes, there is. I'll see if I can find a quick demo product for that.
And while she's doing that, the very first video about Live Preview is already up on YouTube. It's the latest video if you're watching this live. It's the latest video we just released. So you can check that out, and it does explain that particular use case. And Katie's going to show you now.
Right, yeah, I have found the demo product. So this is a t-shirt. So this grid here is not Product Options, the grid of variations. It's our WooCommerce bulk variations plugin, but it works with Product Options. Below, we've got WooCommerce Product Options, And we've used the conditional logic to add a checkbox. So I'm going to tick that, and you can now see that there are front and back options. So let's upload some images to the front and the back of the t-shirt. So this is, why did I do that massive image again? It's going to take ages. It's because I was putting it in a presentation and it has to be a large file size. Anyway, so that's the front of the t-shirt, looking lovely. And now the back end, let's see what I can find. Picture of me and Andy in 2010, which I also put in my presentation for WordCamp Europe, which is about our journey. So here we've got the t-shirt for the back. I don't know if you can tell, this is actually a different product image, this because the neckline's higher. So that's the image of the back of the t-shirt. So we've uploaded a different image to the front and the back. And you can even add multiple images to the same image. So like you might want to do one for the chest area and one for the stomach or the sleeves, or you can add multiple printable areas to one image, or you can have two separate images, each with a printable area, like I just showed you.
Yeah. So bottom line, it's not too difficult to do, and it is baked into the programming of this plugin. So it's a use case that we planned for.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay,
Roberto,
so
for watching, and we'll see you hopefully in another one soon. Speaking
yeah,
of which,
and for being flexible,
Mhm.
being willing to add text as an image for the moment, and then switch to the text preview when you can. Okay.
Awesome. I was just going to say, I got confused about Rob and Roberto. Thanks, Katie and Sam, for answering our questions today. So yes, to everyone who watched, thank you very much. We do have the next live stream scheduled already on February 10th. So look out for that, and you can register on our website on the events page, as well as there's a few other ways that you can find us. And if you want to watch a replay, this is always available on YouTube as well.
Yep. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.